Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team SuperFlex mock draft from the 5th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. This draft is also going to be PPR. Now, I did end up increasing the position value of quarterback from normal to slightly high because I feel as though that gives a more accurate representation of what a real SuperFlex or two quarterback fantasy football draft would look like for 2023. So the roster positions of today's mock draft, we got one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a normal flex, a super flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It helps me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 2023 SuperFlex fantasy football mock draft. Now, in SuperFlex leagues, my ideology is the same thing as two quarterbacks. I want to get a quarterback very early on in the draft. I don't want to be caught lacking in the 4th round with no quarterback and my quarterback one ending up being like Derek Carr or something like that, right? I just do not believe that is the best strategy. Now, in some leagues, you might be able to wait until the 4th, the 5th round. You could still land a good quarterback, but in a lot of leagues, 6 quarterbacks, 7, 8 quarterbacks might go in the first 2 rounds, and then you're sitting there scratching your head wondering what happened when you end up with Derek Carr and Mac Jones as your 1-2 punch at the quarterback position. So this draft begins with Patrick Mahomes, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, and Justin Jefferson. So at the 105, to me, it is a no-brainer to go with a quarterback. Now, sure, you could go Jamar Chase, you could go Cooper Kupp, you could go Tyreek Hill, but ultimately, I'm going to go with the best quarterback available. I personally have Jalen Hurts ranked as my #1 quarterback for fantasy football this season. The rushing upside is incredibly high. His passing upside, he looked the best I've seen him pass in the NFL thus far last season. I think he continues to build on that. He has great weapons in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, as well as Dallas Goedert and now DeAndre Swift. So I expect this Philadelphia Eagles offense to be a force to be reckoned with, and I expect Jalen Hurts, if he's able to stay healthy, to potentially finish as the quarterback #1 at the end of the season. If you want to say, Nick, I would rather have Josh Allen, then I'm not really going to argue with you too much. It seems like all that Stephon Diggs stuff has settled, and Diggs is going to be there. So after Jalen Hurts, we see Jamar Chase, followed by Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Lamar Jackson, Joe Shiesty, and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. Now, we could technically go for the 1-2 punch at the quarterback position, but I really like the running backs and wide receivers here, and I still think there are some quarterbacks that I'm fine taking in the 3rd, 4th round as my quarterback #2 that I feel incredibly comfortable with. Now, if you get in the range of Geno Smith as your quarterback 1, I know Geno Smith Hulk smashed last season. I don't love him being my quarterback 1 in a super flex league. So looking here at wide receiver, Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. Looking at running back, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson. I just have so much more confidence in a Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson over a Najee Harris, ETN, to where at wide receiver, even if I'm not able to get Amon-Ra St. Brown or Devontae Adams, I feel pretty comfortable with Devontae Smith being my wide receiver 1, especially with Jalen Hurts on the team. So I'm going to go with my favorite running back available. That's going to be Josh Jacobs. If you want to go with Pollard or Stevenson, I'm not really going to argue with you. I think they are all in a similar tier. Obviously, Josh Jacobs absolutely devoured defenses last season. I thought he was going to be in a running back by committee. Josh McDaniels hit me with a backhand Will Smith style because that was a team that wanted to run the ball with just one running back, despite the fact that throughout McDaniels' whole career, that man wanted just a running back by committee. He went with just one running back last year, and it paid dividends for Josh Jacobs. After Josh Jacobs, we see his teammate Devontae Adams, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Fields, Mark Andrews, Najee Harris, and Derrick Henry. An orgasmic start to the draft with Pat Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Justin Fields for team number 1. That is an amazing start. Again, your eyes would ejaculate if that happened for your fantasy football team. So here, we're sitting at the 305, and the question is, do we want to go wide receiver, or do we want to go with quarterback? Because we have a load of picks before we get to pick again here at the 408. Looking at the quarterbacks still available: Herbert, Lawrence, Dak, Deshaun, Tua, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins. So once we get past Daniel Jones, to me, there starts to feel like a pretty obvious drop-off. Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that's always going to finish as a top 12 quarterback in fantasy football, but the problem is, from a week-in, week-out standpoint, the guy is as unreliable as it gets. He'll have these games where he looks like the second coming of Joe Montana or something, and then the next game, he looks like he can't even get his cock hard. He looks like he has no idea. Limp dick offense out of Kirk Cousins, and it's really just random. A lot of the time he dominates, though, it is at noon, because he is the new nightmare. Again, I love Jalen Waddle. I love T. Higgins. I love Devontae Smith. But at some point, the quarterback fall-off is going to be very high, and I believe that by the time I'm back up to pick, if I'm not able to get Daniel Jones, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. So I think I'm just going to go with 2 quarterbacks to start this draft. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, you can basically flip a coin, in my opinion. I think these are 2 amazing offenses. Trevor Lawrence looked like a completely different quarterback in 2022 compared to 2021. Obviously, they get rid of Urban Meyer, and that completely opens things up. Justin Herbert, the pervert, has one of the best wide receiver cores, if not the best wide receiver core in the National Football League. Quentin Johnson, as well as Keenan Allen, as well as Mr. Magic Mike Williams. So great offense for either of them. Flip a coin. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert this time. But if I did another one of these drafts, right, and I'm sitting at that spot, I might go with Trevor Lawrence, touchdown Jesus, next time. So looking at the board after we go with Justin Herbert, the pervert, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle, Devontae Smith, Breece Hall, Tee Higgins, Chris Olave, Trevor Lawrence, DK Metcalf, Deshaun Watson, Kenneth Walker III, Calvin Ridley, Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I am someone who loves Anthony Richardson. I understand that Anthony Richardson isn't the best passer, but he has a cannon for an arm, and he's on a Colts team with decent weapons and a solid offensive line, and he has the rushing upside of a guy like Jalen Hurts, right? He has that Lamar Jackson crazy rushing upside. But in the 4th round, I get it's a super flex, it's a 2-quarterback draft, but that is too pretty of a penny for me on Anthony Richardson. Now, in some of your guys' drafts, if you're playing with your friends from home or your buddies from college, the people from where you work, then maybe people will be scared. They will be nervous. They will be petrified to draft a rookie quarterback like Anthony Richardson as a 4th-round pick. So maybe you can get him in the 6th round. And at that point, I'm dancing straight to the bank, right? But in the 4th round, seems a little rich for me on Anthony Richardson. There's been a lot of hype out of camp for him, but I like him a ton. I just don't know if I want to pull the trigger, if I'm being honest with you, in the 4th round. So right now we got 2 quarterbacks and a running back. Realistically, I think we could have went with a Jalen Waddle here and then came back and got Tua in the 4th round. I'm a huge Tua guy, or maybe Danny Dimes, but I think when we look back at the end of the draft, we're going to be happy that we selected Justin Herbert to our team. Something I also should note, I really do feel as though the tight end position in SuperFlex leagues just is not anywhere near as important, right? You need those 2 quarterbacks. You need to potentially have 3 great wide receivers every week, right? Because you want your 2 wide receivers, and most of the time you want your flex to be a wide receiver. I just don't think that drafting a Travis Kelce in the 1st round is the best strategy to win. Now, am I saying if you draft Travis Kelce, your chances to win your Superflex or 2-quarterback league goes down the toilet? No, but in the 1st round, I'd rather have Josh Allen than Travis Kelce very easily. So I just don't feel like the tight end position is as important. Now, if you get like to the 6th round and you still like, for instance, George Kittle a bunch, you're fine drafting him there, right? But it's kind of these super high-end guys that I just don't feel comfortable drafting. Maybe you guys think differently. Let me know down below in the comment section. While you're down there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But that's just always been my opinion on SuperFlex drafts. I'm in one of my main leagues is a SuperFlex league, and I never take a tight end early in that league. So looking at the board here, definitely going to need a wide receiver, and we are going to go ahead here and go with the best wide receiver available. Not really the best wide receiver available because I think D-Hop will fall to us in the next round. We're going to go with Keenan Allen. He's our stack partner with Justin Herbert, the pervert. If Keenan Allen's able to stay healthy for all 17 games, I know they had QJ. I know they have Mike Williams. Ultimately, this is a super high-scoring offense. They're going to be scoring a shit ton of points game in and game out, and having Justin Herbert linked with Keenan Allen provides excellent upside in any given week. Some people will say, I don't like stacking because, for instance, if Justin Herbert has a bad game, probably so does Keenan Allen, and 2 of your players are going to be dead in the water. But the exact opposite is that crazy upside, right? Keenan might drop 30 points, so Justin Herbert's going to hang his nuts on the defense as well, right? He is going to have an amazing game as well, so I see the downside in it, but I'm ultimately going to still be very excited about stacking, and that is a key principle, in my opinion, in these SuperFlex drafts. Sadly, the boy DeAndre Hopkins already came off the board. Travis Etienne, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Mixon, Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, as well as DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm not all that mad. I still like the wide receivers in this range. I have been a big Drake London guy all offseason, but I'm starting to panic a little bit because this is like the Atlanta Falcons are basically a fantasy football team from years past, right? You wait on quarterback, so you have some scrub playing, but you have the elite running back. You got Bijan Robinson. You have Drake London, this immensely talented wide receiver. You have one of the best tight ends in the NFL in Kyle Pitts. But real NFL lineups are a lot different than fantasy football lineups because you can have some scrub play quarterback every once in a while if the matchup is great. But you don't want Desmond Ridder rolling out there, rolling out of bed, and being your starting quarterback. So I am a little bit more nervous about Drake London than I was just a couple of months ago. Ultimately, I think Terry McLaurin is the safest pick in this round. You draft Terry McLaurin, you know what he's going to be. Sure, Sam Howell is the quarterback, but Terry McLaurin has proved through his whole career that regardless of which god-awful tier quarterback ends up rolling out of bed that day and playing quarterback for the team, McLaurin's still good. I like DJ Moore a ton in Chicago. Love Michael Pittman as well. Starting to really warm up to Tyler Lockett. I like Christian Watson a ton as well. So if you go with any of these guys, I'd feel pretty happy with that. We're going to go with Terry McLaurin this time of the Washington Commanders. Obviously, it's going to suck with who our running back 2 is going to be if we continue to wait on the running back position. But since we already have Josh Jacobs, who is that workhorse back, that guy that is top 3, top 5 running back upside every week. If we have a revolving door at running back 2, as long as we can decipher the correct matchups weekly, we could end up with a super team. Looking at running back, Rachaad White, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook. I like those guys, but not in this spot, right? I like James Conner where he's going in underdog drafts, right? Where he's going a little late. He feels like an immense value. Like people are sleeping at the wheel on James Conner. But in this kind of draft, in the 6th round, I just don't feel comfortable doing so. We're going to go with DJ Moore here. Obviously, Justin Fields isn't the best passer ever. He looked way different, though, in the second half of the season. He started really figuring things out. DJ Moore is the clear alpha wide receiver in this offense. And Justin Fields, another one of those guys that he's got this crazy rushing upside, but he's a much better passer than people give him credit for. I have always been a DJ Moore guy. To a fault. To a complete and utter fault. He has such high highs. He has the low of lows because his quarterbacks are basically XFL starters. Shout out to the boy, what's his last name? PJ Walker. Shout out to him. But we're going with DJ Moore here. I think Michael Pittman's a little safer, but I want to go DJ Moore because, again, I think people are really discrediting how good of a player DJ Moore is, especially with the fact that I think this Bears offense is going to be throwing him the ball a ton. After DJ Moore, we see a run at the quarterback position. Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Mike Williams, George Kittle, Derek Carr, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Love. This is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Sure, you might be able to get this superstar running backs early on, right? This team has McCaffrey, they've got Stevenson, and they got Joe Mixon. If Mixon doesn't get the book thrown at him, if he doesn't get that suspension, I don't think he's going to get suspended at this point, then that's a great running back core, right? But now you're rolling out Matthew fucking Stafford and Derek Carr every week. Or this team. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, D-Hop. Chef's kiss. But you have Jared Goff and Jordan Love. Now, I'm a Jared Goff guy, and I'm a Jordan Love guy as well. But I'm going to be honest with you, the team that has Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert, where their quarterbacks can combine for 60 points on a pretty regular basis, you're just going to get shit on unless Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams both light it up for like 30-plus points in those games, which is possible, but I just feel more confident in my quarterbacks when I have these pretty solid wide receivers as well as a stud running back. So the fact that we have Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert is great, though at some point you want to draft a third quarterback before you get into a scenario where your third quarterback is Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston or something like that. I'm not someone who handcuffs my quarterback, so I'm not going to draft Justin Herbert's backup or Jalen Hurts' backup, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad strategy, just not something I'm going to do. Kyler's a guy that I was so low on. I've started to talk myself back into him, but I still definitely understand that this guy could easily miss the whole season. And that would obviously suck if your 7th round pick missed the whole season. I wasn't going to draft Kyler here, but I kind of want to get one of these Mac Joneses, the CJ Stroud, like the guy I know is going to play all year, and he's just going to go into my lineup twice, right? When Herbert's on bye, when Hurts is on bye, or hopefully not have to play him again, right? Because we don't root for injuries here. Don't need Hurts or Herbert getting hurt. Looking at the running backs, I still like Dalvin Cook a bunch. We don't know what team he's going to be on. His ADP is going to change for the better, right? If he lands on a great offense. If he lands on the Bills or something, bam, he's going to fucking skyrocket up the board like my cock skyrockets up in the morning. But I don't know what team he's going to be on right now. I love Michael Pittman. I think people are, again, really sleeping on the fact that he's the clear #1 target in Indianapolis. They're going to throw him the ball a bunch. He dealt with such bad quarterback play over the first couple years of his career. I understand, again, Anthony Richardson isn't going to go out there and slice the defense up, be surgical like Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think he has to be for Michael Pittman to be successful. I mean, just look at last year. This man had 141 targets and only 925 yards. That's because he had Matt Ryan, the corpse of Matt Ryan, and Sam fucking Ellinger throwing him the ball. So you better believe Michael Pittman is going to light it up like a firework. Shout out to Katy Perry. Because baby, you're a firework. Hopefully that didn't get me demonetized because I sound just like her. After Michael Pittman, we see Kenny Pickett, Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert. See, in the 7th round, Kittle or Dallas Goedert. I love that. I love that. But it's when people take Goddard in the 5th round. Kittle in the 5th round. Pitts in the 5th round. In a SuperFlex league where it is egregious, in my opinion. After Goddard, we see Kyler Murray, Tyler Lockett in my pocket. Skirt! Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Swift, Brandon Ayuk, Dalvin Cook, Bryce Young, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Isaiah Pacheco, James Conner, and Mike Evans. Now, I understand that it might feel gross to have to take one of these quarterbacks. At this point, I'm going to do it because if someone was to get hurt, I don't want to have to pick up some random quarterback off the waiver wire that probably isn't even a starting quarterback in the NFL. Right? Like, I don't want to have Will Levis as my quarterback 3. Like, Will Levis might not play a single game next season. Right? I like Sam Howell. Sam Howell might play 4 games, and the Commanders realize this is a disaster, and then go to Jacoby Brissett. So I'm going to go to C.J. Stroud. Sure, he's a rookie. Sure, I don't think he's going to have these crazy huge games, but he's going to be there. It's like Mac Jones, but I just don't think Mac Jones is any good. I think C.J. Stroud's a better prospect than Mac Jones ever was. They're saying it was a reach, but Fantasy Pros can give me a reach around because I think that was just a delectable pick. After C.J. Stroud, we see Treylon Burks, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, Rashad White, David Montgomery, Jordan Addison Ray. I want a bad bitch. Addison Ray, Cortland Sutton, Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney is a terrible pick. I'm just going to keep it a buck. In the 9th round, it's fine. But I think in regular leagues, like when you see him going like the 6th round, I just laugh at that. Like, that is a terrible pick. Looking at the board here, we have 4 wide receivers already. We only have 1 running back. I like this range at running back. The question here is, do you want to be safe or do you want to go for the risk? I think we're probably going to double dip on the running back position here with our 905 and our 1008. So we're going to go with running back here. Javonte Williams is the opposite of safety. He's like diving into the ocean out of a cruise ship and then a shark eats you, right? Like what happened in real life, right? No shit that could happen, right? But Javonte Williams also might play all season. He might be good to go week 1. Sean Payton completely 180s this offense. And the Denver Broncos go from being sunk like the Titanic to rising up to the heavens, right? That's possible. Javonte Williams is really good. So I'm going to go with Javonte Williams, even though I clearly could recognize that this guy might not start week 1. It might be Samaje Perine season, or maybe they bring in Dalvin Cook. Like, Dalvin Cook's been linked there, and this pick looks atrocious, like 3 days from now, right, when Dalvin Cook signs there. But it is what it is. That's kind of the gymnastics you got to do with the fact that I'm drafting this mock draft in June, and it's not August, so... And some players in this video, knock on wood, might not even make it to August. They might get hurt. So after Javonte Williams, we see Gabe Davis, James Cook, A.J. Dillon, Quentin Johnston, Juju Smith-Schuster, Zach Charbonnet, Brandon Cooks, Rashad Master-Bateman, Samaje Perine. The Niners defense, don't draft a defense that early, Elijah Moore, Alvin Kamara, Antonio Gibson, and Zay Flowers back up on the board here, dipping again with the running back position. We're going to go with Khalil Herbert. I talked about him in a video a couple of days ago. Khalil Herbert is the #1 running back in Chicago. Now they have Rashawn Johnson out of Texas. They bring in Donta Foreman. Donta Foreman's never done anything in the NFL, really. Rashawn Johnson's a rookie. Khalil Herbert earned touches. He was uber efficient, 5.7 yards per attempt last year. With David Montgomery on the team. Didn't catch a lot of passes, but that's because David Montgomery was catching a lot of passes. I think Khalil Herbert's a big sleeper this season, and I'm not talking about Snorlax. So after Khalil Herbert, we got Michael Thomas, Pat Freiermuth, Jacoby Myers, Brian Robinson, Damian Harris, Buffalo Bills, Dallas Goedert, and Jamison Williams. I have seen some talk from yesterday's video. Make sure you watch that if you haven't already. I go in depth into the top 3 rounds of a normal 1-quarterback league, and I talk about how I think the draft should go. Now, obviously, things are going to change by August. I'll probably have to make that video again, but I think it's a good look into things. And I talked about with Chris Olave that I don't love him necessarily where he's going a lot, because I worry that if Michael Thomas is able to stay healthy, that he could devalue Chris Olave. And some people kind of spun that into, I think Michael Thomas is going to play 17 games. And I've made this point a couple of times, so it's not just on yesterday's video. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to play all 17 games. But what I will tell you is in the 10th round, I'm fine taking the shot on Michael Thomas. And it's fine to feel gross taking Chris Olave when I don't think Chris Olave is, like, amazing. Like, I don't love Derek Carr either. So it's like, this is already kind of a shitty offense with competition the level of Michael Thomas, who could get 170 targets next season. So call me crazy all you want. I've drafted Chris Olave on fantasy teams, but I just don't love it. Realistically, we could have waited probably longer on CJ Stroud, but that's mainly because the computer on here doesn't typically go for a third quarterback when I am very on ball trying to get that third quarterback on my team. So looking at things here, again, our running backs, Jacobs, Williams, and Khalil Herbert, right? I like our wide receiver core a decent amount. Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman. I'm fine waiting another round for another wide receiver. We got no tight end. We're going to wait until the end to do that as well. We're going to go with a running back that I like a decent amount. We got Jamal with 2 A's Williams. Now, I do love his teammate, Kendre Miller, who's ranked really low on Fantasy Pros. If Alvin Kamara gets suspended, I think Kendre Miller could take over as the RB1. I think Jamal Williams could take over as the RB1. And again, even though I just made fun of Derek Carr, and I will never get down on my knees and give the Gawk Gawk 9000 to Derek Carr, I think the Saints are going to be all right. I think they're going to be fine. And we saw Jamal Williams score 7 zillion touchdowns last year in Detroit. I don't think he's going to score 17 touchdowns again, but could he score 9? Could he be a useful player in my lineup a bunch? I think so. So Jamal Williams is going to be a guy that I'm going to attack and draft. Same thing goes with Kendre Miller. If we flip the cards over in August or in September and Alvin Kamara doesn't get suspended, I'm going to look like a complete and utter jerk-off But based upon the clear proof, it's blatant that this man did what is alleged. He did it. He did it. We know he did it. O.J. Simpson style. We know he did it. We know you did it, pal. Think he's going to get suspended 6 to 8 games. If he doesn't, I'm going to look like a fucking idiot. But that's fine, because I'm only basing it off of what I know. We still don't have a tight end. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a shit, because I'm fine waiting on tight end. I'm fine having Chig be my tight end number 1. So I'm just going to wait. I'm going to go with Nico Collins here. A nice little stack with C.J. Stroud. I love Nico Collins. I think he's pretty clearly the wide receiver 1 there. They got John Mechie. They bring in Tank Dell in the draft. They bring in another wide receiver whose name is escaping me, but just one of those absolute scrubs that they just roll the Weekends and Bernie style. They roll the corpse in to play wide receiver there. Nico Collins, incredibly efficient. He even had a stretch of games last season where Brandon Cooks was healthy and he out-targeted Brandon Cooks. CJ Stroud is levels above my boy Davis Money Mills, so I'm very excited about Nico Collins this season. And I love him here. We need a tight end, though. We do need a tight end. We can't just sit here and act like they don't exist. I am someone who, if I get Dalton Schultz or Chig, I'm not going to be drafting 2 tight ends. If you want to, go right ahead. I'd rather just roll the dice on either one of these guys. Since we already have 2 Houston players, we're going to go with Chig. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans, I don't love this offense, but this guy exploded at stretches of last season. I think Ryan Tannehill is pretty decent. Like, it feels like everyone's kind of discrediting what he's done in the past. Not just because I'm a Dolphins fanboy. In Tennessee, he was really good. So, I'm going to roll with Chig. He might be a one-hit wonder like, what was that guy's name? The guy on the cover of Madden 12, Peyton Hillis. Shout out to Peyton Hillis, though. He saved a bunch of people. I think it was his kids in a swimming accident, so shout out to him, but that guy was a one-year wonder. I don't necessarily think that Chig Okonkwo will be that. So right now we have Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams at running back. 4 running backs. We have Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. So I feel pretty confident in our wide receiver core. I think we're going to go running back here. Just depends on the value. A lot of people like Kenneth Gainwell. There's some talk about how maybe Rashad Penny won't even make the team. And if that's the case, then Kenneth Gainwell is going to be skyrocketing up boards. Right now, I don't necessarily think so. I think he might end up being on the team. I'm going to go with Gus Edwards. I've never been a J.K. Dobbins guy. I think if something happens to Dobbins, Gus Edwards is going to be a steal in fantasy football drafts. So that just about does it, feller. That just about does it. After we went with Mr. Gus Edwards, we see Donta Foreman, Kenneth Gainwell, Ezekiel Elliott, Cole Kmet, Eagles defense, Adam Thielen, Greg Dulcich, and the Patriots defense. We're going to go with our kicker first, and then our defense. I will explain our defensive strategy. Again, we're going to go with Justin Tucker. If you like Tyler Bass or Evan McPherson or Harrison Butker, whatever ahead of him, it is what it is. You can think that. I'm not going to argue with you. For defenses, I just draft one, and I draft that defense for week 1. Draft them to play whatever opponent they have week 1. I hope that opponent sucks. So I'm going to look into which defense early on. We're going to see in August, there's going to be a video, 5 must-draft defenses for week 1, right? It did really good last year. It's going to do good this year, too. The views, hopefully. But, yeah, that strategy works. You draft your defense. If they have a hard opponent week 2, you just cut them. Say bye-bye, and then you pick someone else up. I make videos every week on defenses to stream, so it makes it very simple for you guys to follow. The Steelers, week 1 against the Niners. If that's Trey Lance, I think that's decent. The Dolphins have the Chargers. That is no bueno. The Bucks play up against the Vikings. That's not great. The Commanders against Arizona. We'll go with that because there's no way Kyler's going to be back by week 1. So Colt McCoy, David Blau, whoever it ends up being, I think that is a solid defense to stream. The Commanders have kind of they were overrated in years past. Kind of feel underrated at this point. So our team, in conclusion, we got Jalen Hurts as our quarterback, Josh Jacobs and Javonte as the RB1 and RB2. Our receivers are Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. Our tight end is Chig Okonkwo. Our flex is DJ Moore. Our super flex is Justin Herbert, the pervert. Our kicker is Justin Tucker. Our defense is the Commanders left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. Our bench is Michael Pittman Jr., CJ Stroud, Khalil Herbert, the pervert. So double perverts on this team. Jamal Williams, Nico Collins, and Gus Edwards. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Fantasy Pros gave us a B, but in my heart, this is an A+. I've seen a bunch of comments over the last couple of weeks about SuperFlex. I'm going to do a couple more SuperFlex mock drafts. Again, my opinion on how to do things still stands true over the last couple of years. I want the quarterbacks early. I want to get 2 quarterbacks before things start to get gross. Again, we talked about it. If you don't draft these quarterbacks early, you might end with Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Pickett as your quarterback 1 and 2. Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray, right? You don't want those combos. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all from deep down in the bottom of my heart. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.